All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call to order the study session. And I think first on the agenda is Stephanie with the square at Santan Village.
Good evening, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Barely. You're really quiet.
All right. Is that a little better?
Yes.
All right. Let me just share my screen really quick, and if I get quiet again, just interrupt me and let me know. Uh, All right, so the first item on the agenda is going to be 3 cases for the study session. It is a rezoning case for Z 2012, a preliminary plat, it's S 2013, and the design review is DR 20-174 for the square at Santan Village. This is located south of the southeast corner of Santan Village Parkway and Ray Road, so south of the Top Golf and Main Event, and then it's just north of the Santan Village Regional Mall area. There are 2 existing access points. One is an entrance into the mall, and the other is the entrance into the main event area. So both of those access points are going to be utilized for this project. And I'm just going to turn on a laser in case I need that. To go overview, the site is 21.19 acres and it's currently zoned regional commercial, and it is within the Gilbert Crossroads Center PAD. The preliminary plat is for a commercial subdivision, and then the design review will go over a master site plan and phase 1 improvements and also some design guidelines for the square. So there are no buildings coming forward at this time, just the design review, design guidelines package. And then for requested input, and I'll have this at the end of the presentation, I'm looking for your input on the amendments to the Crossroads PAD, the phasing plan, and the phase 1 improvements for the DR, any feedback you have on the illustrations that are part of the design guidelines for the future examples they're using on the buildings. And then the use of metal throughout the design guidelines, and I'll go into more detail on that. And then if you have any input on the site details that they have, such as the lighting, the plaza layout, or any canopy shade structures, benches, any details like that. So for the Santan Mall area Crossroads Center PAD, for those of you that aren't too familiar, it was created in 1999, so it's a greater area. The boundaries are Ray Road, the Market Street, and then the Santan Freeway to the east. So the site is in red near the northern part of the project. And then to the right, you see the conceptual land use plan that lays out the multi-use commercial. The red is parcel B for the Santan Mall. And this site is part of parcel E. So parcel E was originally 85.45 acres of the full 660 acres of the Crossroads PAD. And then this amendment would create parcel E1 to kind of carve out that section of parcel E. And that section would just have these amendments to the Crossroads PAD for the 21.19 acres. So part of this ordinance request for the rezoning portion would be creating that parcel E1. It's a very hefty planned area development. It's a pretty large book, so there's a lot of information in it. Part of it was used, has information from the Unified Land Development Code before the Land Development Code was created in 2005. So there's a couple different standards that are a little bit contradictory to what the standards are now under the LDC. So some of the requests tonight are kind of modifying what was under the old PAD to kind of be more in line with what's accepted under regional commercial for permitted uses. So for the building height, under the current PAD for retail and service, it's restricted to 40 feet. And then for office and hotel, it is restricted to 60 feet. So the request is to modify that to align with the vertical overlay district that falls under this area, aligning with the Santan Freeway. It's noted as District 5, so they are requesting to modify those building height restrictions to just align with the 90 feet or 6 stories that's under the vertical overlay for regional commercial. And then the second request is to allow temporary outdoor events as permitted uses. Currently, under the Crossroads PAD, it requires an administrative use permit. Under current regional commercial zoning district, it's just a permitted use. So they are requesting to remove that. They have a couple plaza areas that they are expecting to have some live bands at times or any type of event that they would like to have that as a permitted use. And then the last one is currently under the PAD, there is a conditional use permit requirement for any type of bar, lounge, or tavern. And they are requesting to remove that requirement and just allow it as a permitted use. Currently, under the regional commercial zoning district, if it wasn't under a PAD, that would be a permitted use in that zoning district. So they're requesting that to be more aligned with the current standards today. This is the preliminary plat. If you have any specific comments on that, we can get into and show this view, but I just wanted to add this into the slides. But I wanted to focus on the master site plan. So currently this is the master site plan layout. Building A on the northwest portion of the site is proposed to be a hotel. So it will be 77,000 square feet and about 120 rooms. And then towards the center of the site along there will be a north-south kind of spine corridor, private drive, connecting those two access drives that I mentioned earlier. And on the west side of that will be the retail and restaurant buildings. They are proposing 6 buildings at this time. There's a total of 24,000 square feet. And then this area here is proposed to be the square, the plaza area, an outdoor amenity that the outdoor patios for the dining will face so that there can be kind of like an activated space in this area. And then to the east along the freeway would be the 2 proposed office buildings. And right now they're projected to be 4 stories and 245,000 square feet. And then this central area would be another plaza kind of employee amenity area that the employees could utilize within the office buildings. To touch on the phasing plan, a couple of different colors here. The phase 1 improvements would be in blue, so they are proposing to do the phase 1 as the infrastructure of that spine corridor connecting the 2 main existing drive aisles. And then future phases, they don't have any determined future phases at this time, but they have tried to explain in their phasing plan that as say the hotel would come in, that the adjacent parking in yellow would also be required to be put in. And then with the plazas, once the buildings are proposed for those, the first phase of buildings, those plazas would be part of that design review as well. So just asking for some feedback on this phase 1 improvements. Typically for master site plans, we do request that the landscaping along the arterials and frontages do get included in phase 1 so that just typical master site plan design portion. But if you have any feedback on that, I can take that as well. And I wanted to show you the landscape plan so you can get a better visual of those outdoor amenity areas. And they are also proposing a connected circulation on the perimeter of the site so that there can be a walking path that can be utilized by those office workers in those 2 office buildings. And then for the preliminary grading and drainage plan, they are proposing a couple different locations for underground storage throughout the site. And then for the design guidelines, they have a package of what they are focusing on. The Crossroads PAD does note that there is a contemporary Southwest design, and you can see that throughout the creation of the Crossroads PAD. So if you're familiar with that area, there's the Walmart shopping center and Costco at the south end, and then to the north they have the main event and Top Golf and living spaces. You can see the design with the different building materials over the years. This design guidelines calls out kind of a contemporary agrarian and contemporary industrial kind of theme. So just I threw in some of the pages to call out some of the images if you guys have any input on any of the images that you do love or that you don't necessarily love, so we can kind of get some feedback to the development team. They do specify separate sections for the hotel, for the retail, for the restaurants and for the offices as well. They do propose to have specific extended shade areas for some shade enhancement when the buildings come in. And then they do have a pretty lengthy list of acceptable building materials and colors. So they're noting masonry, limestone, brick, CMU, concrete, glass, wood, stucco, terracotta. And then there are also some lighting images, and they go into some site details and materials, as well as kind of a landscape illustration of what they'd like to see on the site. Since the staff report was published for you, we do have an updated master site plan that the applicant has been working on. So you can see that a couple of the retail restaurant buildings have been reorganized in this plaza area, and the plaza has been a little bit enlarged. They pushed the office buildings a little bit further to the west to add another row of parking to the office area. But this is still preliminary, and they're working through exactly what design intent they would have for the retail and restaurants, but wanted to just show you their updated site plan that they've been working on. And just to note the requested input again, but that concludes my presentation. So if you have any comments or want me to go to any specific slides, just let me know.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. That is a big piece of property, and it's a key one. And with all the history on it, that's good for you for figuring it all out. Thank you. A quick comment from me, or question from me, is the underlying owner typically, I mean, it's currently farm ground, even in the middle of all of that commercial development down there. Do they intend to do the phase one improvements through there and still keep it available for farming, or are they, and the reason why I ask is just to know if it's going to turn into a dirt pad, or if it's going to be continue to be maintained and cared for in that way. So
Thanks for that question. I will have to get feedback from the property owners. We haven't had too much discussion on if it remains farmland at this time or how that affects with the irrigation system. I know there's a couple irrigation canals that are part of the changes for the preliminary plat, so I'll follow up with them.
okay. And commissioners, is there any other questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Munt.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to, agree that I think this is a pretty key spot to be able to put in between those main event and Topgolf and the mall there. And so but the phasing plan, that would be the one concern as well, of just what that phasing plan is, how elongated that timeline would be, and to try to mitigate any kinds of desolate areas. But from the illustrations and the metal, as well as the site layouts, I think it's a very well put together piece, and it has a very nice connected feel, much like the Santan or the mall does there. So I think it's a good project, and I'm in support. Just want to understand better about that timing.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Commissioner Munt.
This is Colby Ashton. Can you guys hear me?
Okay.
Colby, I could hear you a little bit. Commissioners, could you hear Colby?
No.
I'm speaking directly into the mic. Can you hear me now?
Colby,
No,
we're still having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah, I can hear Colby, but I'm not sure if you guys can, so it might be a connection issue.
Even the broadcast from the attendees go out to the rest of the base.
Stephanie, if you could tell us what he said, that would be maybe helpful.
Yeah, sure. Colby, can you repeat that? It was a little bit muffled.
Yeah, so my only concern with this project is the outdoor space. We've had some problems with the neighbors with the restaurant there that's on the corner of Greenfield or Santan and Williamsfield, Sandbar. with nighttime music. And so the concern here, I know we're in the process, but there's some concern with that outdoor space. So I wanted to bring it up.
Thank you. Commissioners, Colby Ashton has concerns about the outdoor plaza area. There is a restaurant southwest of this site on the southwest corner of Williamsfield and Sanitary Village Parkway called Sandbar, and there have been some issues with noise in the past. So there's some concern about that. I do want to note, Commissioner Ashton, that there has been a noise study conducted by the project. Staff has voiced those concerns as well. So that was part of the staff report. The noise study concluded that there wouldn't be a huge an impact on the noise levels that currently exist adjacent to the freeway, and that they wouldn't exceed the noise ordinance that the town currently has. But I can have a follow-up conversation with the development team on that noise study as well.
Yeah, thank you. The sandbar isn't violating any noise ordinances either. Don't tell that to the neighbors because they might come out with torches and pitchforks. So it's just if there's something that can be done in these early phases about directionally where the restaurant is versus where the outdoor and the music area is. I mean, it's not really, I understand, but I know because I'm further west of here, and I know some of the neighbors are coming with the sandbar, and so I just wanted to bring it up.
Thank you. And commissioners and those of you attending in person, Commissioner Ashton also advised that the design and the direction of buildings adjacent to the outdoor areas can help with the noise impacts, because those neighbors to further west, just northwest of the sandbar, still have concerns about that noise.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Colby?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
You bet. Commissioner Simon?
Stephanie, thank you. I've got a couple of questions for you. Looking at the site plan, I don't see a lot of area for refuse in and around where it looks like the restaurants are going to go in those central paths. Am I missing something? And I know that you put up an adjusted site plan, but I'm not sure if it just doesn't look like there's enough area for refuse there with all that's going to be going on.
Commissioner Simon, thank you for that question. That was part of our comments at first review, that staff does have some concerns about the refuse. This updated site plan is a new site plan, but not submitted for review yet, so we haven't looked further into this updated refuse enclosure. It does look like they have proposed a couple more bins along the hotel and along the offices as well. We still have to check with environmental services that there are adequate trash pickups for the restaurant, retail, hotel, and the office. So that's an ongoing conversation that we have with environmental services.
Okay. Another question that I have, and this is, it just looks like, and I'm not sure what page of the plan I'm on, but you've got a traffic flow plan, it looks like. And in that traffic flow, it shows two stoplights, one on the, what I would consider the southwest corner. And then there's one, it looks like it was just dropped behind the buildings on the, excuse me, I guess the northwest corner is the one on the road. And then there's one on the southeast corner of the second building there. Is that actually going to have a stoplight there? It just seems like a weird spot to put it.
Yeah, Commissioner Simon, that was a typo, I guess you could say, as part of the plans. That it's not expected to have a signal, but that was part of their first submittal on the exhibits.
Okay. And then my final question is with regards to parking. They're asking for a rezone or a use permit to go up to 6 stories. Is there going to be enough parking in the event that they go to 6 stories, or is there a plan in place in the event that they decide to go that high on those 2 office buildings?
Commissioner Simon, we are reviewing the parking under the Crossroads PAD, so it's a little bit of a different parking code than the typical land development code. And then we're going off of the square footage that they're noting at the moment. When future design reviews come forward, or if the offices end up changing that square footage, we would reassess the parking. There have been discussions in the past about having parking structures in place of some of the surface parking. So there are some discussions going forward if there are any changes to the square footage.
Okay, thank you. And with regards to the PAD and the site plan, I actually really like the project. I think that what they've given us in illustrations look great. I don't know that I would have any concern with the noise level in that area because you've got the freeway to the east, you've got a lot of space to the west. Not sure that, I mean, maybe on a cold winter night it'll push that sound out, but otherwise I wouldn't be so concerned about it.
Okay. Yes.
Chairman and Stephanie, just two quick questions from my side. One is I just wanted to clarify and ensure that these proposed changes are only for the newly created parcel E1. And then second, on this kind of community park amenity, I just wanted to, hopefully that can be well done. I think that could be a nice amenity for this project and, something similar to like a Scottsdale Quarter, or I think what's being proposed for going in on the north end of downtown Gilbert is that large project there as well. So hopefully we can kind of get some ideas from successful projects like that.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. And I will clarify that the rezoning request for the amendment to the PAD is just for this parcel being parceled out to create the E1, so it will not affect any of the other parcels that are part of the PAD.
Okay. Anybody else? Stephanie, it looks in reading through this, and it's just an overall kind of sense that I get is that we have this somewhat outdated development plan that was created back about 20 years ago. And this development has been through, or this parcel has been through several stages and trying to achieve development. And it seems like now they've kind of thrown a big old wide blanket over it, picked the best parts of the old PAD and the current LDC that would be allowed under these same conditions, and now blending them together and giving them a wide berth of a whole bunch of different materials and concepts that can be applied in there. So, and I guess a comment from me would be, let's make sure that we have a good theme for the project, that the developer is really trying to be in the driver's seat on it and create the vision. And instead of saying, hey, I have this great piece of property, if you have an idea, come and join it. And I would much prefer having the developer be in the driver's seat and create a good, strong theme and plan for what's going on there and attract the users rather than have them come to him. And that might be a better way to go about it. We see it being successful in other areas of town, and this is no doubt a prime piece, a prime piece of property, and we'd like to see it continue to be that here. So just some blanket statements there. All right. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 2, Waterston North Phase 1 and 2 from Sydney.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm about to put up my presentation here for you. And are you able to see my presentation? Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. And I'll get started. The request before you tonight is 3 standard plan applications for Waterston North Phase 1 and Phase 2. The subject site is located at the northwest corner of Val Vista Drive and Ocotillo Road within the Waterston North subdivision. The site probably looks familiar because previously back in December you heard 3 different standard plan applications in the same subdivision. Excuse me. Tri-Point Homes, formerly Mary Kay, if you're more familiar with that name, is proposing a total of 12 standard plans for 216 lots in the Waterston North subdivision. The properties are zoned SF6, SF7, and SF8, and the lot sizes range from a little over 6,000 square feet to up to 9,000 square feet. So they're a little bit of oversized lots for the zoning districts. As we go through this, you'll notice that there's 3 elevation styles for all 3 standard plan applications are the same ones, and for each style, there will be 4 individual color schemes, again, shared between all 3 applications. So this exhibit was put together by the applicant to provide you a visual representation of the different standard plan applications happening in the subdivision, since there are 6 that are all being reviewed currently at this time. So with this application, it will be 216 lots, and it will be developed in 2 phases, and it will be approximately 90 acres of the subdivision. So outlined in red are the 3 sections that are going to be reviewed tonight. Parcel 1 up in the corner in purple is the SF8 product. Parcel 2, which is down here in blue, is the SF7 product, and the green parcel over here, parcel 5, is the SF6. So the parcels that are outlined in red, orange, and yellow were previously reviewed by you back in December. Tonight, I'm just requesting general feedback on the overall application, and then specifically on the elevations, and approving the standard plans administratively. Projects that do not require public notice yet require approval by the Planning Commission can be approved administratively with the permission of the Planning Commission after all comments have been addressed. So I'm just showing you here the final plat application. So as I previously said, there are 2 phases that the project will be developed in, and it's under 2 separate final plat applications. This one is phase 1, which has been approved by town council. And the second one is phase 2, which is still currently under review. So the applications cannot be approved until both the plats have been approved by town council, since each application has phasing in each one of these final plats here. So going into the elevations, all 3 of these applications were reviewed concurrently and have completed second review. So the applicant has received first review comments and responded and provided these exhibits. So as you'll notice, there's 3 different elevation types, the first being ranch, second being desert modern, and the third being farmhouse. During the first review, staff provided comments to the applicant, and some of these comments were addressed, including they changed some of the roof lines on the different elevations, provided a accent material in the form of a stone veneer on the ranch style elevations, and also added some accent materials to the side and rear, which I will get into as we move on. So this is the left side. So as you can see, the 2-story elevations have some additional detailings that relate to the architectural styles, such as shutters and some siding. The 1-stories do not have those, since most of it will not be visible, but the applicant did provide it on those 2-story products for us. And this is just the right side, so again, a similar scenario. And then here are the rear elevations. Again, it's going to be the same styles, but this is the next set of standard plans for the SF7 product. So for these ones, the applicant did also make those same changes. They also, as you can tell in the ranch style, provided some railings here in the porches to kind of align more with the ranch styles. And during the second review, there were some additional comments that staff reiterated to the applicant in order to bring these proposed products up to the architectural styles that they're portraying. So for example, for the ranch style elevation, staff was very appreciative of the changes, but also requested that they increase the stone accent material in order to make it seem more cohesive with the development. Some other suggestions were utilizing window frames that were more aligned with the architectural styles. And again, adding some more of these handrail to the porches in order to be more in line with the ranch style. In response to this, the applicant has stated that these are more of a ranch modern style, and that's why some of these elements aren't added. So I just want to provide that context as well. And then again, here is the side elevations, and then the rear. And this is the final product, the SF8. So this is the largest product with a minimum lot size of 9,000 square feet. So with the SF8 product, one of staff's paramount concerns were actually the desert modern elevations, which there weren't any comments on in the SF7 or SF6 product. Staff was concerned about the massing of the front features for the desert modern. As you saw in some of the smaller products, the massing was a little bit more appropriate to the buildings in the style. So one of the comments was just staff requested that the applicant reevaluate that massing. And again, here are the side elevations and then the rear. And there are a total of 12 different combinations of colors and materials, 4 for each different elevation style, and these are applied to all 3 of the applications, the same ones. So during the second submittal, the applicant did provide, as I mentioned previously, that second accent material to the ranch style, so they added a brick veneer to that. And they also modified some of the colors on all 3 of the applications to address some of staff's concerns. And again, I'm just requesting general feedback, specifically elevation feedback, and approving the standard plans administratively, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Sydney. This is a big, big group of homes, and there's a lot of them going in out there by the same builder. So, gentlemen, please give your opinions and ask your questions. And Commissioner Anderson, I'm going to look heavily to you, given your professional training.
So if I'm understanding right, there's 200 and something units for the overall development, right? And we have 4 design options and a bunch of color palettes. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. So 3 elevations and 12 different color palettes.
Okay. Do we feel 4 is enough for 200 units?
That is something that staff has expressed some concern, because I don't know if you recall back in December, but these same 3 styles and color palettes were presented for the other 3 standard plans. So there are a total of 486 lots for this subdivision, and they will include these 3 same styles and the colors and materials. So in previous reviews, in the first review for all 6 standard plans, it was suggested by staff that they do add an additional architectural style, but that was not provided by the applicant.
I would support your stance on that. I think at least 1 or 2 more would be needed, because you have 2 1-stories and 2 2-stories, and then the 1-stories are very similar alike, and the 2-stories are similar alike as well. And to have that many units across that much area, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of diversity. So I'll leave it up to you if you want to approach that with the applicant and make that an important issue for you. I would support you on that. Some of the design things in here I'm seeing, just questions. So I'm looking at the front elevation plan 3507, the ranch. So it looks like there's some horizontal siding in locations around the building, and that seems to be kind of a repetitive thing on elevations. Whose idea was that? Was that presented by the applicant, or was that something that staff came up with as a design idea? How did that come about, and what's the purpose behind those?
Yeah, the siding was provided by the applicant as an original accent material. Adding it on the side and rear came out of comments provided by staff. We asked for the architectural elements provided on the front to be incorporated on the sides and rear to provide some 360 design. So originally proposed by the applicant, and staff just asked them to provide side and rear items, and that's what they decided to put on there. So it's an homage, I believe, to the ranch style. which traditionally has some siding or some board and batten, but more of a modern take.
Okay, so like if I'm looking at, again, 3506 and '07 up on the upper floor, 3506 looks like the middle siding, it's going to be, there's a foam pop-out that kind of surrounds it, if I'm reading that right, and then I go to '07, and at the same location, it looks like that section is recessed a little bit more, which makes it kind of a little bit more purposeful, where in other locations, you're just kind of creating an outline with a pop out and filling the inside. Just looks a little odd, but if that's what they want to do, I'm not going to push it too hard. There was another thing that I saw in here that looked a little wonky too. I think it was on the right elevations. I'm looking at 3504, the farmhouse. So on the left side of the building, there's like a little gable section, and then it's cut off by, looks like another gable. What's the purpose of that? Why didn't they just slope that roof entire, all the way down to the ridge, down to the fascia? Just that little gable piece just looks weird to me.
Commissioner Anderson, I do not have an answer for that. I am not sure exactly what the intent was, but that's something that I can follow up with the applicant and provide them feedback on.
Okay. Again, these are just architect being a pain, I guess, when critiquing other people's designs.
The thing that you love so well when people critique yours, right?
Why not? They do it to me every day, so I'll give it right back. Same sheet, plan 3506. Again, there's just that like kind of stripe that's going along the top floor there. What would be your opinion if that was just stucco, or do you like having the little horizontal siding elements kind of scattered around the elevations? Are you comfortable with that?
Commissioner Anderson, when it's a wraparound feature like the farmhouse one is, that's something that is encouraged because they're wrapping around from the front. So when someone's using an accent material, we ask them to wrap it around to complete it so it doesn't look like it's quite just stuck onto the front facade. So that is something that, at least on the farmhouse, since it is a wraparound feature, that we would still support and that we'd encourage to have.
Okay. And then I'm just going to put one more comment out there, and I'll shut up. And this is a kind of a standard comment I'm seeing around on the plans, too. So I'm on the left elevations, plan 3506 farmhouse. You see that red shutter that's on that single window there? What's your thoughts about, instead of doing those shutters, maybe carrying that horizontal siding theme at that location, too? That just looks weird when you have a shutter on one side of the window. I understand it's a single window and looks, pretty narrow. It's 2 feet, maybe 30 inches or so. What's your thoughts on that?
Commissioner Anderson, I think that's something that would be a good compromise and would be something that we can talk to the applicant about. We'd just like to see on those second stories, since they're pretty visible, some type of architectural feature that says this is a farmhouse style, not just a stucco wall. So the wraparound continuing to that could also definitely be something that keeps it in line with the original comment from staff to add something. So that's something we can definitely ask the applicant about.
Okay. And then just on the shutter thing, same building, rear elevation, the shutter's there. I mean, it looks more appropriate there. To me, I would just recommend when you're using shutters, they should usually, if they were actually operable when they close, it should close off the whole window. So those just look a little narrow. They might want to go a little wider on them, so it seems more appropriate for that location. They just don't look like they're adequately sized for that window type. And I'm going to shut up now.
No, that's the kind of stuff I was hoping to hear from you. Thank you. Anybody else? Commissioner Munt, Commissioner Jones? Down on this end? Commissioner Simon?
Yeah, I'll just make a quick comment, and back what Commissioner Anderson just said. Kind of looking at these, we've got 3 different lot sizes, 200 some homes. It just looks very monotone to me. Everything is very similar. They've made small little tweaks, and we've got houses that are going to be close to 4,000 square feet with the way the housing market is today. And I mean, in fear of offending somebody who's much smarter than me, I feel like these are very plain and not too much to get excited about. So I just feel like I agree with what Commissioner Anderson just said.
Sydney, thank you, Commissioner Simon. Sydney, as far as the Waterston and this whole area that Mary Kay has been developing, they've spent a tremendous amount of money creating the infrastructure, creating the parks, creating this great community. And it just seems like maybe going just a little bit extra on these details, especially where there's such a vast quantity of homes being put in here. And we approved the plan. We approved the plats and pre-plats and all of that. We knew that. We questioned some of the things, some of the same development restrictions and deviations throughout the whole property. And it was expressed as one of our fears is that it would become a sea of same. And so I would appreciate being able to see more of these kind of things being broken up, more of these homes being a little bit more different, creating an identity within each of these parcels to the extent that they can, if it makes sense. And far be it from me to tell them their business and it's their property, but it is presented here for a reason. And so our opportunity is to give them the feedback as we see it, and that is a feedback and a concern of mine is that we have the sea of same out there, and really has opportunity to be something more spectacular because of the way that they started the project and the infrastructure that they've been putting in and the kind of sense of arrival that they've created out there for the entire community. Let's continue the same throughout the parcels. So just a challenge. That's all. Thanks. Anybody else? Yes, Commissioner Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Sydney, I think just overall, I actually liked a lot of the design on this. I think that I agree that we could probably use a little bit more choice, just given the vast number of homes that we're building here. But overall, I actually like this compared to what we saw in December in study session. But I agree, we could have more choice there. The other thing I think we talked about in December, and I know this is different, but a need for more porches. I saw a couple of these units have porches, but I thought that was something that we had provided last time and maybe could be feedback on this one as well. And lastly, I think last time we talked about the applicant was asking for a shorter front setback in exchange for more of a rear yard. That wasn't quite coming through. I think we don't have quite the same issue here. I think the lot sizes might be a little bit different, but when I look at this, the homes are maximum depth of around 85 feet on a lot that's 123 feet deep. So I guess maybe not as tight as what we looked at in December, but just wanted to confirm that with you.
Commissioner Jones, so on the same study session that I presented those standard plans, Keith Newman presented Waterston Central, which is another Mary Kay Tri-Point Homes development that is very similar. So they're asking for the same or similar deviations. So this one is a little different and is not quite all of their lots fit through their plot plans and all of their floor plans that have been proposed compared to the Waterston Central project, which has not completed the rezoning and preliminary plat to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Sydney, did you get enough?
Chair Bloomfield, I did. Thank you for all your feedback. I just have one final question. I just want to confirm if the commission is comfortable, if this is handled administratively by staff and your comments are reiterated by staff through review and then approved administratively, or if the commission would like me to bring back this project for commission approval.
Any input, commissioners? You care to see it back? Trust staff to do this?
Yeah, I would trust Sydney to.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
All right. We're all of the same opinion. Sydney,
Perfect. Thank you guys
your-
so much.
You have it in your caring hands to take care of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 3, Gilbert Pavilion. Josh?
Josh, can you please check your microphone?
Josh, we can see your presentation, but we can't hear you. Josh, we still can't hear you.
Commissioner, Chairman Bloomfield, sorry about that. I was having issues muting myself. My apologies. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Perfect. DR 2109 Gilbert Pavilions is the applicant's proposing to establish a development plan for a 13-acre parcel located on the southwest corner of Higley and Ray Roads. The site's located within the Gateway Character area. It's adjacent to the Lionsgate residential community and directly south of the future Epicenter mixed-use development, directly on the northwest corner of this intersection. On site currently, there's an existing fueling facility with a car wash that was approved on the hard corner in 2015 as a phase 1 to a master plan vision for this whole site. However, the rest of the site has not been foreseen development since then. Staff is requesting Planning Commission's input on the applicant's overall development vision for the site and how it aligns with the vision of the overall Gateway Character area. The majority of development style we typically see in Gilbert stems from, the suburban nature of our town, typically consisting of large lot residential, drive-through commercial, and large commercial shopping centers. However, there are 2 unique areas within Gilbert where residents have envisioned something different. Areas with a focus on a neo-traditional design concept that promote higher densities, integration of commercial, employment, and residential uses together through a robust multimodal pedestrian network. The most prominent of these areas is, of course, our downtown area, also known as the Heritage District, which we've seen over the past decade as it's really grown. It's been a tremendous success. The second unique area in the town is known as the Gateway Character area, which this site is located within. The GCA vision that you see summarized before you has been in place for some time and was recently reaffirmed by residents in the 2020 general plan adoption. While development in the GCA was unfortunately delayed by the Great Recession, a little over a decade ago, local landowners, developers, residents, and town staff have worked together over the past few years to really revitalize that vision and see it move forward within 2 distinct areas within the Gateway Character area. First of which is situated just 2 miles southeast of this corner. Cooley Station, you've seen Stephanie bring forward the projects many times over the couple of years. It's envisioned as the core of the Gateway Character area and is centered around one of the only 2 rail stations planned for Gilbert as part of a wider intercity rail service that is planned to stretch from the East Valley all the way to the far west side. Projects such as Verdi at Cooley Station have been revitalized within the past few years with Stephanie at the helm and are further bringing the GCA vision to fruition. Second, of course, is Agritopia and Agritopia Epicenter, which is located directly north of the subject site. The Agritopia neighborhood is truly special. It's highly sought after as a community in which people want to live. You can mention Agritopia anywhere around Phoenix, people know it. Epicenter is a continuation of the GCA and Agritopia combined vision. It was initially brought forward in 2004, though initially delayed by the last recession, like the rest of the developments nationwide. The Johnson family has worked tirelessly with town staff and local residents to move the project forward and see it come to fruition with construction of nearly 50,000 square feet ground floor commercial space and over 300 loft above residential units. Through Agritopia, the goals and visions of the Gateway Character Area to blend pedestrian-oriented development with the reality of being located in a suburban city was beautifully achieved. Staff has been working to guide the applicant in the development of a vision for this site that furthers the vision of the Gateway Character Area and builds upon the hard work set forth by existing developments like Agritopia. Your packets include the full document created by the applicant for your review. However, I just have a few slides, some of the main exhibits from that packet up on screen. Shown on screen is an illustration of the applicant's vision for the site, laying out the basic organization of internal drives, monument features, streetscape, and access locations. No buildings are currently proposed as part of this design review application. However, building locations, parking fields are only generally identified as the applicant wants to focus on flexibility for potential future tenants. It is important to note that when future projects are submitted for the site, an emphasis will be placed on consistency with the GCA framework outlined in our general plan and as mentioned earlier in the presentation. Primarily the focus on the neo-traditional design concepts of integration with surrounding uses, the pedestrian environment, and pedestrian scale site design. Due to its location within the GCA, auto-oriented design will not be supported by town staff. On screen right now are some of the design concepts presented by the applicant that will act as a guide for any future developments. As future phases of the site are brought forward, staff will be looking for the architecture within Gilbert Pavilion to be visually interesting, with an emphasis on those neo-traditional styles that promote compact development and encourage pedestrian circulation. So just as I mentioned earlier, staff is just requesting the Planning Commission's input on the applicant's overall development vision for the site, how it aligns with the vision of the Gateway Character Area, or input on any